Well, guys, let's get started into this. All right. I think for me, to articulate my story to you guys and let you guys know a lot about who I am is just so important to you guys being on this journey with me and to understanding where the origins of all of this comes from and why I care about this so much. So, what I would really want to talk about is why I'm here, what my focus is, and ultimately just give you guys a glimpse of the behind the scenes into my story and my development and kind of the reason that I believe the things that I believe and have created all of these things and made the decision to leave college football. Ultimately, it's the pursuit of truth. And truth and God's purpose has been revealed to me over the course of a lot of adversity in my life. And most of that adversity has come through the lens of the quarterback position. Like, guys, I grew up in an incredible household. Like, my parents, unbelievable parents, Linda and James, both big time athletes that really showed me the way. And, what they taught me from a very young age was there's a winner and a loser in everything you do. And if you commit to it, like, you finish it. And those two things were two things that I think have driven me and propelled me through my career. So, when I was in fifth grade, I kind of fell in love with the idea of the quarterback position. I was watching guys like Tom Brady on TV, and I just saw their leadership, and I saw the way that they influenced other people. And for me, that was something that I didn't know as a fifth grader, but like as a fifth grader, I was like, I want to do that. And, the thing is about quarterback is like, this is about outlasting, not just outperforming when you're young. So for me, like, guys, I didn't even play quarterback in Pop Warner until I was in eighth grade. I played in flag football in seventh and eighth grade. But, for me, like, it was tough. It was adverse, in my Pop Warner experience. I really just wanted to lead people. That's what I wanted. I wanted the ball in my hands. Like, I wanted to be the person that had more control over the outcome of a game than anybody else. And that's why I went to one of the top high schools in Northern California and, made the decision that I was going to try to make an impact on a really, really strong community and kind of do something there that had never been done before. And so as you get into my high school experience, like, for me, it was, on my freshman team, like, competing for that job. And I remember being worried about potentially not getting that job and then ultimately earning it. And, we won a league championship my freshman year. And then going into my sophomore year, I got pulled up to varsity and I was told that I was going to have the opportunity to compete for the starting quarterback position. And I never got that opportunity. And I remember being better than the senior who was there and having a big problem internally with the fact that, like, I was told that I was going to have an opportunity to play, but then was never given that opportunity. And, at the time, like, that was devastating to me, only to realize kind of through my whole career that, like, that's kind of par for the course. That's kind of how these things go. At the quarterback position, only one guy plays. And so that was a big time of just like, mom, dad, like, why is this happening? I was somebody who definitely wanted to always be competing. And so to sit down and watch and to watch us not be very good was a very, very adverse situation for me. But, everything through my story and everything that you guys will learn about me is that if there's one thing that I've done really, really well in my life, it's I've taken the adversity and the perceived failures and I've turned them into gains. I've turned them into learning. So, I used that fire my sophomore year to propel me into my junior year and really did something at our school that had never been done before. We were an incredible football team. And I was the leader on that team. And even then, we didn't throw the ball more than 10 times a game, but I found ways to influence our team in other ways. And because of our success, that kind of birthed some opportunities for me. So I think it's important to know that in high school, like, I was the fifth or sixth best player on my team. Like, I didn't, I was a very, very good player, but we had other very, very good players. And so I was never in that light the same way. And I didn't throw the ball more than 10 times. So like it was hard for me from a statistics standpoint, like to think that I would get recruited. I had a coach from Purdue fly out to the school in the spring of my junior year, and basically wanted me to come out to camp. I flew out to camp there. They offered me a scholarship. I'll never forget, they took my scholarship away shortly thereafter that. And it was because they had a coaching change, and basically they no longer believed that I was the person that they wanted to go there. And that spiraled me. It was one of the first spirals that I had, and I really, really struggled with that. At that time, then I was thinking about going to the University of Utah, but they had kind of deceived me in the recruiting process as well. So I wanted a relationship, and I committed to San Jose State to play for a coach who was 29 years old, much like KJ or myself in terms of relatability, and somebody that I believed in. And I was going to play for Dick Tomey in front of my family in San Jose, where I grew up. And then this is how football goes. This is the way the journey goes. Is a week and a half before signing day, they came to my house for a dinner, and my offensive coordinator, the one that I was going to play for, wasn't there. And I remember asking Coach Tomey when he showed up at the doorstep, like, "Where's Marcus?" And he was like, "That's what we're here to talk to you about." And I remember just sprinting to my room and just throwing my head in the pillow and just crying my eyes out. Because, along my journey, like I hadn't had the throwing success that I wanted to, even though we were winning games. And I wasn't being selfish about that. I did everything for my team, but I just didn't really get the opportunity to play quarterback like that. And I know so many of you guys battle those situations where, it's just not ideal. It's not ideal all the time. Now we were winning and we were doing a lot of great things. And I was a consummate like leader and professional in that way. Like all I wanted to do was help my team. But, it was just tough. It was a tough situation. And so like, even if you're being, not being recruited, or if you're being recruited, like everybody experiences adversity through the whole journey. And, that offensive coordinator left and went to the University of Wyoming. And that's when I kind of just made a decision to take a leap of faith, and go to the University of Wyoming. And I didn't know anything about Wyoming. I didn't even know if it was a Division I college at the time. But I made the decision to go there, and ultimately, finished up my senior year as CCS champions and one of the top 15 teams in America, and was a leader on that team, and, felt really good about my high school career. But one thing I'll say is that like at this position and in life, like it always becomes about the next thing. So, we all think that if we get a college scholarship, like that's going to solve all our problems, and we're there. And I would say that the needle just moves. And in the course of my life, and as you listen to my story, like you guys are going to continue to hear how like the needle just always kept moving. So in terms of fulfillment, like fulfillment comes on a day in, day out basis, like as we earn that right by who we are, the way we live, and ultimately aligning ourselves with God's purpose for us and our values. And I've felt that Wyoming was the best opportunity to do that for me. And I flew there in June in the summer before my freshman year. And I ended up being the starting quarterback as a true freshman. And, major Division I college football, starting quarterback as a true freshman. I was a Mountain West Conference Freshman Player of the Year. I was the Conference Player of the Week 4 times. We played Derek Carr and Ryan Matthews in the New Mexico Bowl on ESPN. And I was the MVP of that game. We won in double overtime. And, I had a beautiful girlfriend, amazing relationships up at the school. And so as an 18-year-old trying to lead a community and, a town full of 30,000 people that are all behind this football program and doing things that hadn't been done before, it was something that I relished in. Like I wanted that weight on my shoulders. And it was a Cinderella ride. Like that's how I explain it. And then my sophomore year, like such is life, right? We come back and we had recruited Hawaii, Florida, and California, and Wyoming has snow on the ground for 7-8 months a year. And our coach, he was tough in terms of just not a relational coach, not somebody who really was transparent with our players. And so a lot of guys left. And so our sophomore year, we struggled. And when we struggled, especially me as a captain, as a true sophomore at 19 years old, like I really struggled with that. That was something that was really hard for me. That season, I remember having conversations with our coaches that were very difficult, because I had kind of felt, after coming from a high school program and knowing what winning looked like, that there were things that we weren't doing. And I kind of spoke up with them, and they didn't like the fact that I spoke up. And, I was 19, I was young, and I wanted to talk about those things. And maybe I shouldn't have done that. I don't have regrets. I stand 10 toes on who I am, and I stick by everything that I did. But basically, there was conflict then with the coaches. And I remember after one game, like, our head coach went to the media, and he basically threw our players under the bus, and I listened to it, and I told him I didn't want to talk to the media, and he looked at me straight in the face and he said, "You're going to talk to the media. That's your job." And I went up there and I basically said, I'm a quarterback and this all falls on my shoulders. This is my fault. But I said, when you lose to a football team like this that we should have beat, I said, that's also on all of us. It's on our coaches. It's on our administration. It's on our players. And I said, I'm always going to take the weight of it. But I just heard our head coach come up here and talk about how he designed a great game plan and how we didn't execute. And I'm here to say that when you lose to a football team like that, no, it's on everyone. And I'll never forget the next morning when I went to workouts. Again, I'm a captain, true sophomore, and I hear "Austyn" screamed at me from across the indoor. And it was my offensive coordinator, and he said, "Come here." And I remember walking up to the coach's office, just following him. And basically I walked into the office, and there were 30 coaches in there, all looking at me. And the offensive line coach handed me the newspaper and said, "Read it." And I read it, and basically it was what I just told you. And they said, I'll never forget, the head coach said, "Well, do you stand by it?" And I said, "Every word." He said, "Get out of here." And I was like, all right. Because ultimately I'm somebody who follows truth. And as you listen to my story, you're going to hear that over and over again. And basically they tried to, kiss up to me the last 5 weeks of the season. I played really well to finish the season. And I had made the decision in my head that I was going to transfer. And I remember walking off the field after we played Colorado State in the last game of the season, just crying, looking around in the stands, because I really cared about the environment that I was in. And I wanted to be there, but it wasn't the right place for me. And it wasn't the right place for me because I felt like there was a ceiling over my head. And at that time, I made the decision to leave. And I'll never forget when I went into the head coach's office the next day and I told him that I was leaving. He at first tried to reason with me and get me to stay. But when I make decisions, I make decisions. And I knew that it was time to go. And I'll never again forget the words he said to me after that, which he said, "I'm going to make sure that you never play Division I college football again." And I had a 3.8 GPA. I was a captain. This was before the transfer rules. So I thought that, I was going to be fine and I was going to be able to go to another Division I college. And basically he blocked my release. And so that next week, I remember about 30 schools reaching out and offering me scholarships, Pac-12 schools, ACC schools, Mountain West schools, and Big 12, Big 10, you name it. And some of them were my dream schools coming out of high school, and I couldn't go. Imagine that feeling. Imagine that feeling, being a kid with a 3.8 GPA. I got an incredible girlfriend that I was in a relationship with there. I had an incredible community that I loved dearly. And ultimately now I'm leaving and I've had my release blocked. So I can't go to another Division I college. So I had two roads, two choices. The two choices was to go to a Division I AA school, which I ended up visiting Montana and Valdosta State because it was a real reality. But for me, I always am going to choose the harder path. And basically that harder path was that I had to go to a junior college and take 30 hours in a semester to graduate with an AA degree. And then I would be able to go back up to Division I college football. So I chose that path because I wanted to play Division I football again. From that point forward for the next 2 years, it was a spiral from hell. Made the decision to go home. And basically, because I had already played as a true freshman and true sophomore, like I wasn't going to play at the junior college because it was only one spring semester. So I remember coming home and my girlfriend broke up with me, and I realized like that people cared about my jersey up at Wyoming a lot more than they cared about me as a person. So, I'm a big time lover, man. So, like, when I felt that from them, when I felt them kind of turn their back, you could say, on me, it crushed me. It crushed me. And I'm at home and I'm with my family, and my brother and sister are kind of looking at this kid who they thought was their hero up on TV and doing all the things that I was doing in major college football. And now I'm lost and I'm on my couch and I'm just trying to figure it out. I remember being so hurt and so angry, and all because to me, like, I take responsibility on my behalf, but like, again, I was a great kid. I was a great student. So to have a coach kind of do that to me, that was really hard. That was really hard. I didn't understand why. I didn't understand why people didn't feel that same like love that I had for them, unconditionally. Now I kind of understand it a lot better. But I'll say in that time that I really lost who I was, because I'm very emotional and somebody who, like, I lead and I understand people. And so when people all turned their back on me after I had given so much to them, I kind of lost my way. And I remember after I finished that AA degree, getting a call from Vanderbilt University, and I had been accepted as a student. And I remember calling over to Vanderbilt, and the newly hired head coach was James Franklin, who is now the head coach at Penn State. And I remember getting on the phone with him, and he was like, "Are you kidding me? Like, I have an opportunity for you to come to school here?" And I was like, "Yes." Because at that time, like, so much had happened over those 6 months that, college football works in a way where, like, they want you when they want you. And so when they couldn't get me because my release was blocked, I watched a lot of those opportunities just go away. And I didn't want to go to a school that was less than where I was at before. So my grandfather had gone to Vanderbilt. My grandfather's my hero and was a psychologist. And he said, like, "I will pay for you to go there because I believe in you. And that's SEC football. And I know that you can do it, Austyn. Like, I know that you can do it." And so James gave me an opportunity to go there, and I went there. Now, mind you, I'm still ineligible. So, I'm at one of the top schools in the country academically. I'm in Nashville, Tennessee, but I'm a fighter, dude. I'm a player. And so when I can't play, like, that's a tough world to be in. On top of the mental spiral and kind of where I was at, just in terms of feeling crossed by people, that was a really, really tough time for me. And I was still going through it. And I remember showing up to Vanderbilt, and he was like, "You're going to be on the scout team." And I was like, "Okay," like, because I was ineligible. So I knew that was due to transfer rules. I got that. So, like, that's fine. But then he said, like, "We have 2 4-star quarterbacks." And he's like, I need you to play other positions." And I was like, "Okay, like, I'll do that." So I remember playing running back and wide receiver on the scout team and just trying to run guys over and, giving my best effort. I had something to prove. I had something to prove for sure. But meanwhile, off the field, I was still, spiraling. Just felt crossed, like questioning who I was. Because up until that point, I had done everything the way that everybody had asked me to do it. I loved and threw my whole heart into everything. And so now I'm just trying to kind of find myself again. And that experience on the scout team was beautiful, because I remember the starting defense, and we were a very good football team for 3 years there, the 3 best years in the history of Vanderbilt University. Getting really close with them because they respected and applauded the effort that I put in, because no 20-game Division I college starters coming over and playing running back and receiver and trying to take care of us, like trying to push us. And that was just the way that I was. That was the way that I lived. Those are kind of the values that my parents taught me and the way that I wanted to push things. But like I said, off the field, still struggling with things. So I remember after that season was over, James Franklin called me into his office, and he was like, "Austyn, He's like, I see a higher version of you than the one that you're giving me. And for me, dude, like, you kidding me? Like, with my work ethic and what I do, like, you're saying that? And it was the biggest blessing I could have ever received in my life. Because after I thought about it, I was like, I want to play. So I went back to coach and I was like, Coach, like, tell me what I need to do. And he told me, I need you to drop your friends, like some of your friends. I need you to not go out. And I wasn't a big go out guy anyway, but I went out a lot while I was ineligible because it was like, dude, I got to get through this. You know, like, I'm going to go out and spend time with some girls and have some fun and do my thing. And I remember he showed me a higher standard for myself. And I hated that he made me do that, but I was committed to it because there's a winner and a loser in everything. There's a guy that plays and a guy that doesn't. And I wanted to play. I wanted to play. And so my junior year comes around and I'm behind Jordan Rodgers, who is obviously Aaron Rodgers' younger brother. And I was better than him. I felt I was better than him. But like, he operated the offense much better than I did. It's just the reality of it. Like, I threw the ball better. Like, there was definitely more quote unquote upside with the way that I played. But Jordan did things the way that he was supposed to. And going from a spread offense to a multiple pro style offense is such a difficult transition anyway. Now you're talking about, re-IDing Mike linebackers, sliding the line all the time, changing routes on the field. Like, we have over 50 different protections, 25-word play calls. It's like, dude, going from, duo right, basketball right, bounce, where I don't even know what the hell's going on in protection at Wyoming, where I'm just freestyling and getting to play, to now, like, West right, fake 15 counter F, Z stutter, X deep over on the double, ready break. Like, it's different stuff. And I struggled with that too. And so basically, like, I remember after fall camp, like, thinking like, I might have the opportunity to play, and them going with Jordan. And, then Jordan didn't play very well the first 3 games of the season. So they gave me the job and they said, Austyn, like, it's your show. And I went to Presbyterian and we kicked their ass and I played really well. And then we were in the week for Georgia. And I remember throwing two interceptions in red zone Skelly on Thursday, and Coach Franklin going, Austyn, he's like, what the hell are you doing? Blah, blah, blah. And I looked at him, I said, Coach, relax. I got it. And that was the wrong thing to say, dude. And I remember him going, Jordan, you got it. I didn't play another down the rest of the season, just from that one thing. And it taught me another lesson. So I really went into my senior year approaching this thing as a true professional. I led the guys in the weight room. I did everything that I could in the weight room. I did everything that I could on the field. I was organizing workouts all summer because I wanted to win a national championship. I was elected a team captain. I was chosen as the hardest worker on the team throughout the entire spring, given like a WWE belt for that with the team. I was SEC honor roll. So I was dialed. And then going into my senior year, like, something very heavy happened that affected my life a lot. Basically, 4 of our players raped a girl at our university. And one of the players sent a picture of what happened to about 25 other players. One of them was me. I didn't see the picture. I was asleep. I still thank God every day that I was asleep. But basically, those guys crashed into my room at about 2:30 to delete that off my phone. They deleted it off my phone. They left. As the story would play out, like, they all got arrested. 3 of them, I believe, are still in prison right now. But the most important thing has it affected my life was, that's where I learned about the quarterback platform. Like, if I hadn't learned about it already, I woke up one day and on the front of the newspaper, it said, star Vanderbilt quarterback listed as witness in rape investigation. And I was never there. I never had anything to do with any of that. The only thing that I was a witness to was that people came into my room and deleted something off my phone. I came to find out later that what was deleted off my phone was pornography. And therefore, like, technically I witnessed them covering up a crime. Never got in trouble for anything. I was never, implicated. There were 27 witnesses in the actual case. I was not a witness by the end of it. But why was I on the front of the paper? Why was I on the front of the paper? Because at this position, when you play quarterback, like, you're the guy. You're the guy. And you got to carry the weight of everything. You got to carry all of it. So I remember my dad called me. He was like, Austyn, like, I need you to tell me what happened. And I was like, what do you mean, Dad? Like, I already told you what happened. And he's like, I know, but like, I read this in the paper and like, I'm just trying to make sure. And I remember kind of hitting my knees and I was like, if my dad doesn't believe me or is asking more, what's the world think right now? And after everything I'd been through, I genuinely, I was like, dude, am I going to be able to recover from this? Me personally, like, I was never worried about anything with the courts or any of that. Like, it was all just me and the court of public opinion, what people thought. I felt alone. I finally, kind of just put my head down and just continued to work through it. And I'm the captain and starting quarterback going into the season. We're ranked number 23 in the country. I start the season and, dude, I'm throwing for 300 yards a game. Like, we're balling, bro. Vanderbilt University, top 20 team in America. And then we go into the week against Georgia. And I get a call from my dad on Tuesday. And my grandfather, who's my hero, had passed away of a stroke. And so you think of all these things that are happening. And I remember struggling with that. He is so bad. He's my hero. He's why I do this. He was a psychologist. He worked with a bunch of professional athletes in the Bay Area. So, for me, my heart and where I come from with all of this, like, he's a huge part of why you're here and why I'm here. And when he passed, I was like, I got to do this for him. I got to go play for him. So we go out there and we're on CBS at 2:30. Like, we're number 20 in the country. Georgia's number 4 in the country. Aaron Murray, Todd Gurley, the whole thing. And we're winning in the third quarter. And Leonard Floyd, you guys might know who that is, wrapped me up and I tore my ACL. And I remember laying on the field and I looked up at the sky and I remember just thinking, like, my grandfather's up there. Like, got to get my ass up. I got to get my ass up. I had heard the pop in my knee, the pop that everybody talks about that I had never experienced before. And in that moment, I just remember thinking, like, this is bigger than me. This is bigger than me. And so I kind of walked off the field on my own power. Everyone thought I only had an ankle injury and I had torn my ACL. And basically, because I was a 600-pound squatter, the doctors, evaluated me and told me that there was an opportunity that I could try to play through it. So I took 2 weeks off. I'll never forget not being able to play when we played Johnny Manziel at Texas A&M. I was on the field and I just remember, like, being sick to my stomach that I couldn't go out there and compete for my guys. And then ultimately I came back and I finished the season. I won my last 3 games. I beat Tennessee, Kentucky, and Wake Forest on a torn ACL. Beat Tennessee in Neyland, bro. Drove 95 yards to beat them with 2 minutes left in the fourth quarter. And that's how I finished my career. I got offered a CFL contract after the NFL didn't offer me anything. And at that point, I decided I had a calling, a purpose, and that was to help you guys, to help quarterbacks and to coach. So at that time, I met Trent Dilfer. I'm very thankful for Trent because he was one of the first people to kind of confirm the things that I believed about, like, coaching human beings' soul so that their body could show up the way that you wanted, especially at the quarterback position, bro. If your heart and your mind aren't right, like, you're in trouble. You're in trouble. And that's why this program is designed the way it is. And that's why I did what I did the next few years. So, after that, I remember him offering me a job with the Elite 11. And basically I told him I kind of wanted to pursue my higher education and get a master's degree in psychology. And he said, well, you'll always have a job with me. He said, but if you want that, like, go pursue it. Go pursue it. And I would do it as a college coach. So I remember going on the SEC network and I said, I want to coach college football. And I remember Missouri calling me. And Gary Pinkel said, I watched everything that you went through at Wyoming. I saw I had to play against you at Vanderbilt. And your resiliency and who you are is something I want to be a part of this program. I want to offer you a job. And I was like, dope, dog. What are we doing? And he was like, you can be a recruiting GA here. So I was like, all right, cool. So I went to Mizzou and I was a recruiting graduate assistant. I immediately became extremely close with Drew Locke. We had a very, very strong relationship. I got my master's in educational and counseling psychology, but I was witnessing a lot of the same things that I went through as a player and a lot of the same things that guys were struggling with in my locker room still happening at Mizzou. So I called my parents and I was like, Mom, Dad, like, I think I want to leave. Like, I think I want to start my own business and help people. And they were like, that's awesome. But they were like, go talk to them first, because if you can stay in college coaching for a while, it'll help you with what you're going to do next. So I went to the head coach and I told him, like, Coach, I think I'm going to leave. He was like, no, you're not. He's like, there's no way I'm letting you leave. And I'm 25 years old and they promoted me to being the recruiting coordinator at Mizzou. So now I'm in charge of a recruiting department, running a full group of 6 people, picking our recruiting territories, watching all these prospects, doing all these evaluations, reporting to our coaching staff. I didn't really care what my job was, like as far as coaching on the field or recruiting at that time. I just wanted to help as much as I could. And that's when I started to really understand kind of the national landscape from a recruiting standpoint, kind of watching those offer rates skyrocket and seeing all the garbage kind of there, where so much of this is just not even what you guys think it is. And after a year and a half of that, we did an unbelievable job. While I was doing that, like I was recognized by ESPN and 247 Sports as one of the top 30 coaches under 30. And, I still, guys, through all of this, am rebuilding who I am, really struggling with just from that trauma in high school, college, like trusting people. So I just poured myself into the service of others, but I was kind of deflecting a lot that was on my shoulders as well. And that's why this position and why like the way we understand how to go about this position and live who we are is so important. It's so important. And, then I go through that recruiting coordinator job for about a year and a half, and I felt I needed to leave again. I think a lot of it was because I was just witnessing the same things that forced me to struggle through so much, like happen. And I was seeing how it worked. I was seeing how it happened. And at that time, then I was like, Coach, I'm going to leave again. And he was like, Drew needs you, Drew Locke. And Derek Dooley had just gotten hired. He was the head coach at Tennessee and the wide receiver coach for the Dallas Cowboys. And he was our offensive coordinator. And they said, we want to interview you for the quarterback coaching position. And I was like, let's do it. So I went in there and I smashed the interview, dude. I'd been preparing for that thing for a long time. And so at that point, at 27 years old, I'm coaching Drew Locke, dude. I'm coaching Drew Locke. I'm recruiting Kelly Bryant from Clemson, recruiting Brady Cook, recruiting all these guys, Connor Bazelak, Lindsey Scott, Michael Wilson. Still remember all my boys, dude. Taylor Powell, all of them. And bringing them in and created a culture in that quarterback room that was really special, really special. A lot of camaraderie, a lot of brotherhood. And I took the personal development exercises that I had built through my psychology program and getting my master's and started using it with our players. And that's going to be a lot of what you guys do through this program with me and the things that you talk about with me. And I just watched these guys take huge steps forward as people. I watched them kind of have the armor that I never had. They had a true understanding of who they were because of our work. And so when they experienced adversity, they faced it in a much different way than I did. I deflected my adversity, kind of pretended it wasn't there. Now, pardon my language, but there was no bitch there. Like, I faced everything, but I just kind of put my head down and worked through it. I didn't like really learn or try to understand it. And that's why we do what we do. And that's why this program is built the way that it is if you understand who you are and ultimately your strengths and weaknesses and your fears and all these things, like if there's no enemy within, the enemy outside can do us no harm. And that's what we built. So I remember after that season, like I had recruited Kelly Bryant from Clemson, and that was a huge deal that I was able to get him from Clemson to Missouri. And yet still, like, I felt a calling to leave and to come work with you guys, to build something that could change an industry that I saw that was training throwers of the football, but they're not training quarterbacks, dude. They're not training us to go through the fight that you guys go through when your coaches don't play you, or when you only throw the ball 5 times a game, or when your coaches hide letters from you and don't allow you to be recruited the way that you want, or you have all these fans and stuff booing you and talking shit about you, and they have no understanding of even what's going on. Like, I felt the weight of all of those things. So when I went to leave, Barry Odom was like, dude, you can't leave. And I was like, well, then I want more influence over this organization. Like, because we have a lot of guys that are struggling and I want to help. And he was like, come in here at 6 o'clock in the morning and show me how you want to do that. So I made a presentation for him. I had been preparing for that forever because it was all the curriculum that you guys are going to go through in this program. And basically I showed him all of it. I told him about my personal development plan for all of you guys that were in the organization and in the Locked In program as well. And he was like, I want you to do this. So he promoted me into a role as the director of character and cultural development. And basically I put in the exercises with the whole team. And when I saw what that did for our guys, I was like, this is it. This is it. This is what I needed. This is what my brother needed. This is what my sister needed. This is what Drew Lock needed when he was younger. This is what all these guys need in order to navigate these waters and face all of it and not flinch, because it's coming. Adversity, if it's already not on your shoulders, is coming. And that's what this was about. I've read every book under the sun, guys. I've been to Tony Robbins' convention and walked on fire. I've searched within my soul so deeply to figure out something that could really help you guys be able to navigate the waters differently than I was able to. And that's coming from a 30-game starter and a 2-time captain in college. And I'm telling you that what you'll get through this program and what you'll get through this development is a brotherhood, a community, and a sense of knowing within yourself that allows you to be better than I ever was, better than my brother ever was. And that's what this is for. So after I did that with our team, he had the highest team GPA for 3 consecutive semesters in the history of the school. Like, we had speakers that I grew super close with come in and do exercises with these guys. And I did my own exercises. I taught them about flow state. We identified all of the performers and who they were. And that's because I had a calling for my career and my story. And ultimately, that's why I left college football and I started Locked In. And when I started Locked In, like, all I knew was that I wanted to change the way that quarterbacks thought. I wanted to give them a sense of self-awareness and confidence that could allow them to not feel what I had to feel. You're going to hit adversity, but are you able to navigate through it? And that's what I believed that I could deliver. So when I left, I was like, I'd studied so many things. I was like, dude, the world's going to the internet. The world's going to social media. So you know what? I want to help kids and I want to help people. So I'm going to go teach on social media. At the time, nobody was teaching. Nobody was teaching anything. And I started pouring my heart out and just teaching. teaching, posting video. Guys, I didn't have much money. I didn't have any of that stuff, but I had a calling. I had a purpose. And God gave me that purpose through all of my experiences, all of my adversity, and all of my learnings. And basically from there, like, it's been 4 years of bringing in all these college quarterbacks and all you high school quarterbacks and spending a lot of time with you guys and building a brotherhood. And I've been getting shit talked about us the whole time. That's just the way that things work. You know, when people are threatened in an industry where you're doing something different, you know, we're teaching flow. Like, that's a spiritual and physical integration. Like, that's mental clarity on the field. No one's teaching that. No one's teaching that. And so there's a lot of people that have talked a lot about us, a lot about me. And at the end of the day, like, you listen to this story, you understand who I am, and you understand, like, this ain't a facade. This is who I am. This is who I've always been. This is who I've learned to be. I don't believe I'm the greatest thing in the world. I don't. I'm open-minded. I'm always going to stay evolving. But I promise you that there's nobody my age in the world that has put in the work in this subject the way that I have. There's nobody in the world that's my brother's age that's put in the work on that subject. There's more behind the curtain than there is in front of the curtain. And that's because we're value-centric. I want to change your life. I want to help you have what I never had. All that struggle and shit that I went through, that I watched other guys go through, I don't want you guys to have to go through that. I don't want you guys to have to go through that. And on this journey, like, it's lonely, bro. It's lonely. One position, one guy plays. You have an idea of what you want it to be, then you have a play caller who's kind of an asshole and doesn't want to throw the ball. You know, there's always things that you're dealing with. And you're a very special person for wanting to play this position. Like, you think about after my journey with LockedIn, like getting started for 3 years, that adversity and self-discovery and things still weighed so heavily on me that I wanted to take a break and go to Europe. And I went to Europe and I played professional football. I tore my ACL in Europe. And I remember just 8 months of reflecting on my whole life, really understanding deeper all of the things that I just talked to you about, and knowing that I had a calling and knowing that God's purpose for me was exactly what I was doing. And I healed. I healed from all of those experiences, and now I'm here. And now I'm here to help you guys. And this program and this course and what this is going to do and the brotherhood and community that you're about to step into, I want you to look at this thing as 90 days that are going to change your life. I want you to think of your whole life as a story. What's that story going to look like? And I want you to think of this being a chapter. What's this chapter in your life going to signify to you? Your parents have invested in this. You've invested in this. I'm invested in this. My brother, Coach Hunter, Coach Colt, your family in this community is invested in you. Are you going to see it through? Are you going to push yourself to greatness? Are you going to take everything that I said, and are you going to think to yourself like, yeah, that probably won't happen to me? Or are you going to listen and feel my truth and my story and say, you know what? I want to do this thing different than this has been done before. I want to have a strength and resiliency from the conviction in who I am that allows me to navigate waters that are always choppy. Always choppy. I just want to see you guys chase and fulfill reaching your full potential. I don't care what level of football you play. I don't care how many touchdowns you throw. I care about who you are. And I promise you that I'll lead you from the front in this. So I hope that that gets you guys to know me a little bit. My focus is going to be on that mental and spiritual journey with you guys, really taking you into the fire and allowing you to learn some things about yourself that allow when the fire hits for you to already know who you are. We won't flinch. And that's the difference with LockedIn. That's the difference in terms of how we find flow. And I promise you, if you invest everything that you have, you're going to be able to avoid a lot of the things that I went through. And then when you do face them, you'll have a map for exactly how to go through them. So I'm fired up to start this thing with you guys. I truly love you. I truly do. For being here and being with us and believing in us and understanding our truth. Like, there's nothing more that I want than to watch you guys be successful. And this fraternity goes way beyond just your football career. Like, this is about having a brotherhood for life. And you're going to meet your brothers. And all that I ask of you is giving your best effort. Giving your best effort, rising to the occasion, facing the hard things that you'll have to face through this process. Because if you're willing to face these hard things through these 90 days, you'll be battle tested and ready for anything you face beyond it. Okay, I love you guys. I truly do, man. And I can't wait to get this journey started with you.